Welcome everyone to our Salon number 79, Code Pink and the Peace Economy with Jodie Evans and Marie Goodwin in the Maternal Gift Economy Breaking Through series, hosted by Genevieve Vaughan and the International Feminists for a Gift Economy. We are so happy you're taking time out in your Saturday morning to join us today. I'm Letitia Layson, your moderator. I'd like to introduce our speakers. Jodie Evans is the co-founder of CODEPINK and an after-school writing program, 826LA, and serves on the CODEPINK board of directors. She's been a visionary advocate for peace for several decades. An inspiration and inspired motivator, Jodie invigorates nascent activists and reinvigorates seasoned activists through her ever-evolving, always exciting methods to promote peace. Whether in boardrooms or war zones, legislative offices, or neighborhood streets, Jodie's enthusiasm for a world at peace infuses conciliation, optimism, and activism wherever she goes. Jodie is the co-editor of two books, Twilight of Empire: Responses to Occupation, and Stop the Next War Now: Effective Responses to Violence and Terrorism, and a contributor to Beautiful Trouble, A Toolbox for Revolution. She is currently writing a book about divesting from the unjust, extractive war economy and building a just, sustainable peace economy. So timely. Our other speaker, Marie Goodwin, is CODEPINK's local peace economy coordinator. Marie has a master's degree in Bronze Age Aegean archaeology from Bryn Mawr College. She left academia to pursue a career as an advocate for local economies, food, and culture. She started a local time bank in her community, opened a volunteer-led free store, and sat on the board of the first transition town in Pennsylvania. She also spent the last 15 years consulting with like-minded authors, public speakers, politicians, and not-for-profit organizations to help them successfully structure their online presence and manage various projects, events, and workshops. Marie makes her home in Media, Pennsylvania, on the traditional and unceded territory of the Lenni Lenape people. When not dancing at EDM festivals with her husband, Marie is birthing her first series of speculative historical fiction based on the medieval North Atlantic. Well, that's very interesting. Welcome, Marie. This is your first time, and Jodie, welcome. We're always so pleased to have you. Please, I'm going to pass the mic to you. So thank you so much. Now, I don't know, Jen, do you want to say anything before these two women start?
No, I'm just saying welcome. I'm so glad you're here. And
Excellent.
yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, all of you. It's so lovely to be with you again. This is a community, and communities are what are most important right now. And Jen and Letitia and Diane, you have built this community that comes together to be nourished, to be in community, to be in learning, to be in the present moment of like, how do we be together for this time, for this earth, for the people that live on it. And it's just deepest gratitude for your commitment. I've been with you for years and years, and I come here because it's a global community and we work locally, and just the importance of that, the importance of the interweaving of the what do we do where we are and how do we learn from each other around the world. It makes us our hearts larger. It makes our minds much more agile, resilient, and relational. So deepest gratitude. Love you so much. So, I've been here before. We've talked about local peace economy and a lot, and I know some are been here and some are new. So we're going to do a quick kind of overview before we move into what is this moment we're living in. Historically, how have women globally responded to it? And how can we respond to it from the space of the gift economy, the peace economy, the beloved economy that we have been building over these years? And, I remember coming and talking about, there's this tsunami of things that are coming that the war economy has created: global climate change, global inequality, the soil for fascism, I used to say, and people would roll their eyes, but now we know it's not a soil for fascism anymore. It's fascism acting clearly as fascism around the world. And then if we're not rooted, when AI fully arrives, we will just be a tool of it, a tool of those who've accumulated wealth at a level that is never happened in history. And we know through history that power and wealth accumulated in too large creates fascism, creates violence, creates inequality, creates the things that tear apart the fabric of society. And I've watched this over my lifetime. In the last 60 years, I've watched what was a more kind of egalitarian space to this radical inequality where people literally live in vastly different relationships to time and space and life. So I'm gonna, turn it over to Marie, who will help take us through kind of a quick overview, and then we can dive into where we are now and how do we meet this moment. Marie.
Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. Thanks for having us on. And yeah, I just appreciate this space a whole lot. So the Local Peace Economies Project grew out of CODEPINK's anti-war and anti-capitalist activism that started in the early 2000s. And I wasn't a part of it then. I was doing my own activism, but Jodie, as a co-founder, was deeply involved in it. And she began to realize that there was a lot of pushing against this system that supported war and was antagonistic to peace. And while the activism is visible and important, that there was this other component to it, which is building the system that promoted an economy outside of the war economy, promoted a way of being outside of war economy habits. And from that is how the Local Peace Economy Project got started. Um, I think that telling you a story about what the local peace economy is a good way to start. And then I'll tell you about a little bit about what local peace economy means very specifically with Code Pink. But a local peace economy, I was interviewing somebody for a podcast interview yesterday for Code Pink Radio. And this person does agroforestry and has grown up going back and forth to Palestine and working in Palestine in various volunteer projects. And he just got back from a volunteer project in Palestine in December. And he was talking to me about the work that he's doing there is that even with the devastation and the despair and the horrors that we're witnessing every day happening there are people eagerly planting trees. There are people eagerly trying to reforest whole parts of the land. And they're doing it fully well knowing that those trees, they're likely not ever going to see those trees mature in their lifetime, as planting all trees is, but in particular in a war zone. And with a genocide, an ongoing genocide. But yet enthusiastically, people are committed to serving life in this way. And that in its essence is what a local peace economy project is. It's looking at the needs of a specific community and devoting resources that serve life and peace. And I thought it was a really beautiful example of what we're trying to support and promote and help flourish by the Local Peace Economy Project at CODEPINK. And we do this in a few different ways, but an important way is that we have a website you can go to, peaceeconomy.org, and I think Jodie's going to put it in the chat. And we have a repository of local peace economy projects all over the United States. Right now, it's just the United States. And in this way, people can find what's around them, what's local to them, where they might invest some of their energy and time. It's also a way of looking at what's missing in your local community. I mean, it's not complete by any stretch of the imagination. We add to it every day, but little by little by little, you get a sense of what's happening in your community around you that supports peace and life. And then you can step into it as a volunteer, or you can help create projects. So that's one thing that we do. We also have resources or what we call pivots, and it's called the cycle of reconnection. It's also on the same website. And that stems from a quote. Well, a quote sums it up from Adrienne Marie Brown. And she says, what each of us practices at the scale of our individual lives is what then is possible for us at the large scale. I'm a microcosm of all that's possible: liberation, justice, pleasure, and honesty in the universe, and I act accordingly. And so there was a recognition when the Local Peace Economy Project was forming that it's not just about the work that we do in our communities, it's also about the work that we do within ourselves to undo war economy thinking that has us into some really they're bad habits, but they're habits that it's like swimming in water. We don't even realize that we're fish swimming in the water of the war economy until these bad habits are pointed out to us. And then the cycle of reconnection and the work that we're doing on the website and in our handbook helps people discover the subtle ways in which the war economy warps our thinking and warps our relationships with each other. And so these are centered around healing, like individualistic thinking, consumerist thinking, scarcity thinking, and habits of othering other people, and a loss of creativity and celebration and joy and play in our lives, which is something that I think a lot of people suffer from. That's one of the biggest, I'm almost 60, and it's one of the healing journeys, really a powerful healing journey I'm on, is that I was kind of parentified as a young teen and had to take care of my siblings, and I never really played, and I lost the ability until I was in my 50s. That's why I put the dancing at EDM festivals on my bio, is because it's a reminder that even as old as I am, I can go and play and dance and celebrate, even when when Rome is burning around us, that there is play and creativity available to us. And so healing these pivots, it asks us to meditate on issues like alienation to connection, us versus them thinking, to collaboration, or all of us thinking, consumption to creation instead of consuming, apathy to engagement, problem solving, and to managing complexity, like being a control freak, and to handling the fact that the world is complex and always evolving. And then scarcity to abundance, which is where, and there are a lot of different subtle movements, and this is where the gift economy comes in. So I've been a gift economy activist for probably, what year is it? 15 years. And a lot of what my work has been rooted in very practical engagement with that, starting a free store, starting a time bank. I run an herbal medicine a CSM, but based in the gift. A lot of what I do in my local community is rooted in gifting. And the importance of this and what Jen's work has really helped me understand is how this is rooted in the deep care of mothering. And I know that everyone here knows this, but it took me a little while actually to connect those two ideas together because I was so like invested and involved in the practicality of like how you start a time bank and open the accounts and, you know, gathering the people and who's volunteering this day. And I was really invested in the minutia and the detail orientation of what it takes to run these things. But at the same time, I'm also a mother and to two incredible children and was deeply invested in mothering. And when this connection happened in my mind about the removing from the war economy and from neoliberal capitalism what actually belongs in the deep care that we have for one another and giving it through the abundance that, you know, some people have abundance in one thing, some in others, but really taking a look at your own particular abundance and then giving it freely and how that's related to mothering, which is, as you know, if you're a mother, you know that every day you're giving freely from sometimes an abundance that you don't actually even have. You find resources within yourself. You develop more abundance than you ever thought possible. And I had children late in life. I was 35 and 38 when I had my children, and I did not know that I had the well of giving and love and abundance inside of me until I had those little beings needing my care. And so to me, this very beautiful coalescence between stripping neoliberal capitalism of things that does not belong in that economic system and returning it to the gift and the relationship to mothering has been an incredibly fruitful and important part of this journey for me. But I know everyone here understands that because that's what a lot of these meetings are about, is examining those ideas. And now we're back to Jodie.
Thank you, Marie. Thanks for bringing us in so well. You are it. You are the peace economy. So I want to talk about how the peace economy is also resistance and the gift culture is resistance. And we're going to talk more about the value of resistance right now in this time of fascism and the over extreme of everything that is the war economy. But one of the things that I don't think we talk about enough is that the war economy has broken the habits, broken our connective tissue, because for people to succeed in it, whatever that means, and they have to behave in the way that it wants you to behave. And Marie talked about that a lot. I call those habits, I call them actually addictions, because it's pulling you in, it's saying do these things, but what it creates in you is an addiction because it's not feeding you back. It's not fulfilling you, nor is it fulfilling life. It's really destructive. So when we say the war economy is destructive, extractive, and oppressive, those addictions it pulls us into are the same. They're extractive, destructive, and oppressive. And so it's how people are living, thinking they're liberated in this, space of war economy that they inhabit, but really they're impoverished in the things that are life, in the things that give fulfillment, in the things that give joy. And it really is, if it's the space of depletion. And we see that what's happening to the earth, we see it's what's happening to humans. It's a literal depletion. And, like Marie said, and like we know from Jen, it's like being in the gifting economy, mothering it takes us to the edge of our capacities, yet it gives back so much to life. And so one of the things I think that we're learning from the Palestinians, and I love that Marie's story is also rooted in Palestine, I've watched the U.S. military, U.S. foreign policy, sorry, I'm going to cry, destroy life. And it's destroyed gift and peace economy cultures. If we look at Korea, if we look at what Korea was when we destroyed it, and the beauty and the care, why was it interested in socialism? Because it related to its culture. It was natural to the culture of the people in Vietnam, in Latin America. So I tried to figure it out, it's like 30 million people that we've killed with our tax dollars. And, that's to stop anything that makes people understand a peace economy. That NATO was created to destroy anything that could let you think that there was something other than the war economy. And it destroyed peace economies. The Middle East, 5 million people are dead from our war on Iraq and Afghanistan. 5 million people that just everybody kind of sat still and let happen and didn't put anyone in jail for. So the lack of accountability and responsibility is one of the things. Dehumanization, the lack of accountability and responsibility are what the soup we're in right now. And so, resistance becomes being the thing that is not allowed, right? Well, Palestine has been that for the last 77 years. After Palestine, and I think we're like 3 weeks away from the Nakba, which is the anniversary of the first time the Gaza was happening and the world just let it happen, and everyone was ushered out of their lands and their homes, where people took their key hoping to come back. And every year goes by, 77 years now, people still have the key. They still live out of liberation and resistance. So I want to say that is a place always to look for, what does resistance look like? And resistance in Palestine looks like care. It's an enormously educated population, but its connection is to the earth. Its connection is to care. What are people educated about in Palestine? To be teachers, to be doctors, to be caregivers, to be those that care for life. When you look at the education of Palestinian, it's rooted in the care of life. It's rooted in what Jen teaches us as the mothering, in the care of life. And that is what the Palestinians are, in the care of their lands, the connection to an olive tree that is like a human, that is the giver of life, the olive tree, the connection to what it is to be the fisherman, to be the nets. We wear our keffiyehs. You can't see it, that is the symbol of the fishing net, the symbol of the olive leaves. Those are the resistance. And that everybody wears it every day is that I am in resistance. And so here we are in these times that we've been talking about I've been talking about, and Jen's been talking about longer than me, of, where this war economy, this patriarchy, this imperialism, colonialism, capitalism monster is, basically right now committing suicide, because it's eating its own. It's at the place we knew it would get to, but we're here witnessing it in the space of an empire collapsing. But it's gotten so hungry. The hungry ghost has gotten so hungry that it's eating itself. And we're in witness to that. So yes, the peace economies are thriving. I just literally cry every day to watch how it's growing and how it's just become, you don't have to teach anything anymore. It's come to the space of obviousness of what do I do to pivot out of this? It becomes just, there is no other way than the peace economy, because people are understanding. We're getting people showing up that understand the war economy. We don't have to teach it anymore. It is so, the curtains of the Wizard of Oz are so far pulled back that it's more our task to be the teachers right now. So just a reminder that this is resistance. And I want to talk about this for a minute, because when we're in these times of stress, and you know, many of you I know are around the world, but to be in the United States right now is intense, because you are witnessing the most beautiful people. You know, Mahmoud Khalil was created a peace economy in the commons of the campus of Columbia University, where people brought food and fed each other, where people brought education and served each other, where people danced and played and loved and cared. And they were Christian and Muslim and Jewish and Buddhist and non-denominational. They were humans. They were young people who knew this, who knew what it is to live together, is the giving, caring, sharing, thriving, relational, resilient economy. And they were building it, and it was beautiful. So who did they take first? The leader of that, not the leader, because there were no leaders, the spokesperson who was negotiating with the university to divest from funding the genocide in Israel. That's his crime. His crime was to care about the mothers and children that were being murdered. So what happens is, lifted from the street, like nothing that fits law, not picked up with no warrant, in a very sinister way, in a very dehumanizing way. Like, I want you to go home with the word dehumanizing as what you're resisting with every breath. That with every breath you are humanizing, because what we are witnessing is dehumanization. But it's not just him, it's beautiful students and professors, and they're being just picked up in the most horrible ways, one by one. Why one by one, and why horrible ways? So you will be frightened. So this will tell you to shut up. And it's done so at each time it becomes public, you can see it, and you're not going to show up anymore for that. Because the other thing they're showing you are literal concentration camps in El Salvador, where even a judge said, no, they can't go there. They can't go there. But instead, the plane still goes, the country still accepts, and senators and congresspeople are going, and still the leader of this nation, other nation, is like, no, I'm going to get a lot of money for making concentration camps. We're going to get rich as El Salvador on building death camps. We don't care. You don't have power here, Mr. Senator. We don't care that this didn't happen in a good way. We love excruciating pain. What is this? What happens to a normal human when they look at a prison where hundreds of men are laying against each other's body? There's no room to lay down. For 23 hours, you're packed in like sardines, excrementing on each other. It doesn't matter how you feel, how hungry you are. What does that do to people? What is that meant to do? So that is the context that we're in right now, in this moment, where after watching Palestine, we think it can't get any worse, and it gets worse every day. Every day. We watch the most beautiful people get burned to death, incinerated with their entire families. We're at over 200 members of the press that have been murdered. Thousands of caregivers. I mean, this is, if you watch this, they are focusing on the care, gift, peace economy people. It is on purpose. But I'm going to take you back. It's the same on purpose of the US war machine for decades, taking on exactly that. It wasn't personal, but now we're seeing it personal. We are seeing the beheaded child by a bomb that ripped their head off. We are seeing the young man, connected to a life-giving instrument in a tent made at a hospital being incinerated to death. We are watching it happen, and we are still silent. We are still, no one is capable of bringing it to an end. It's why we love Claudia Sheinbaum in Mexico, because at least she can stand up to the bully verbally, but not in her practices. She's having to bow down day after day after day. The whole world is having to bow down to these tariffs. Students are being kicked out of university. So we're at this transitional moment where the muscles that we have developed, it's why, I said you build the arc, the local peace economy, because when it hits, it is what your muscle will be practiced to do, to care, to share, to give, to be resilient. So, it is when we develop these muscles, it matters. And I want to speak from Los Angeles, where we've just gone through 2 horrific fires, which were kind of like the Paradise Fire and the Maui fire. The same thing you hear was fast and furious. So in a way, we're in the fire now of fast and furious fascism. But here we had, in my living room here, had created the mutual aid support groups, the local support groups. We'd created what was necessary for when this came. And I want to say it was amazing, because what could have been quite traumatizing was the opposite. What happened was there was care. What happened was people like, wow, there's a place for me to go where I can do, there's a place for me to give to. So that there was the arc in place that was there for the disaster, that not only was it there to help, but it was there to change everyone's culture. They went from what media wants to tell you, dystopian, like run for the hills and take care of your own, to know the only way I survive this is to take care of others. And we had one side of town that's very wealthy and another side of town very poor, and the same thing happened to them. And to my shock, the people on the wealthy side of town went, I have privilege. My house wasn't all I have. I can build another house. What do I do to help the people on the other side of town? As their house had just burned. That is the peace economy. That is because when you can create the container that reminds us who we are as humans, we're still human somewhere inside of us, even though we've been co-opted, even though we think this other thing is true, that if you create the space with, like, I forgot what Margaret Mead said, but it's a very small amount of people, like 8% of the people. It's only up to 8% of the people to create the culture that people will align to, because it is life, because it serves life. So I'm not reporting out of vagueness or an idea. I am reporting out of years of doing this and watching it in disaster work beyond my wildest imaginations, change people. We live in a city not in trauma, but in care, a city that's fallen back in love with itself, a city that's connected, a city where people are going to take care of each other, a city where everybody thinks about, what am I doing for Altadena? What am I doing for the people in Altadena? So I just want to say, it's not a concept. It's a lived experience. And I know many of you are living it and have lived it, but I just want to say, to live in where 150,000 people are sent to the streets and find arms. That's what we're living in. So as much as you can watch these things that are meant to frighten us, what is really happening is people are discovering the peace economy, the caring economy. They're discovering that that's dead. That's over. They are not coming to save us, is what people said in LA. We need to turn to each other. They understood that, and they understood it because the firemen couldn't get to their house. because they'd been defunded and police had been refunded, and who showed up were police instead of firemen. They got that it was upside down and backwards. It was real. There's no like lesson you have to teach them except like, oh, they're not coming to save us. It's up to us. So I live in a city that got the lesson really fast and very furiously and is living, I mean, local peace economy projects are popping up like crazy, and they understand the bigger picture much better. I also want to tell you a story that also relates to this, because this is all resistance. And it's just here to, I really want today to be about resistance and being the lighthouse. So we are the resistance. The way we live, the gift economy, the peace economy, the way we are the mother to life, that is the resistance. And one other one that just surprised me yesterday was that, you know, this happened before Trump got in. There was a piece of legislation that went through. All this is driven from the resistance to the genocide in Gaza, is the ground zero for where the attack is happening, because it's fueled by the Zionist movement, which is the most funded movement in the US, to shut everyone down, calling it anti-Semitism instead of support of life. So, you know, it's like if they're getting you for anti-Semitism, that means you've been supporting life, unless it's very obvious that you've been anti-Semitic, but that's a little hard to find right now. Not that it won't be easy to find later, because what is happening is driving through anti-Semitism, which is a crime, by the violence of what people are seeing. But fortunately, the people that are seeing it know it's not a Jewish religion that is doing this. It's Zionists, which is an imperialist, colonialist way of being that dehumanizes others, not anything that any of us are for. So they're trying to shut down all the nonprofit structures that have had anything to do with resisting the genocide. The bill doesn't pass. And coming together to make that bill not pass was quite amazing, because I would turn around and look at who was at my side. And they were people that usually aren't a fan of me, but they were at my side. And, you know, CODEPINK is at the forefront of this. We get attacked every day by members of Congress and the Senate, and lies thrown at us. You know, they've been trying to close us down for a long time. They don't like anti-war activists. But they're, you know, they've been closing down. So the one thing that they have control over, DOGE, is they can just close down a budget of anything. Like, oh, we're defunding that, we're defunding that, we're defunding that. Local peace economies are feeling the burden of that. But all the organizations that are set up to care for life, there are 100,000 organizations in the United States that are tasked with taking care of life. Whether it's you come across the border and you're a refugee, you know, like coming out of prison, you know, like homeless, you know, like all the issues of society that the war economy creates. There is also 100,000 nonprofit organizations that get some form of federal funding to do the task that it's not doing, right? Because if the state was in place and we paid our taxes in for it to do some certain things, like create the structure of care that's necessary for the fabric of society, if the state was actually doing that, we wouldn't need all the nonprofits, because they would come out of the infrastructure of the state. But instead, the state's failing the people. So it throws breadcrumbs. It doesn't actually serve the need. It pretends to serve the need. And so the practitioner and the need recipient are never really getting what they need, because they're always scrambling. There's never enough from the practitioner care side, and there's never really enough flowing to the need. So it's always a space of lack of no fulfillment. So this is the war economy at work right here in the care space. It's also the war economy at work. Well, that those 100,000 nonprofits got their funding cut. No money from the federal government is flowing to those spaces that give care. But not, so that's already been happening. And, you know, it's quite debilitating because people are just running out what they have in their coffers to take care of people, to try to find a job, which the jobs aren't showing up. Which, you know, we'll hear about in a few months. But this new thing that we're hearing about is like, and the rumor is it's going to happen on Earth Day. And the rumor is, like the way they're picking a moment to show you what's coming, and watch nobody save anyone. The next thing is that they're going to close down, they're going to take away the nonprofit status, like they did with Harvard, of the organizations that are working on climate. This is definitely fueled by the fossil fuel movement and the coal movement and the mining movements and the, you know, pipeline movements of corporations that have hated that activists get in the way of their devastation and extraction from the earth. So the people in line are the environmental movement. So the rumor goes. People inside of the White House have, you know, let other people know. But what happened yesterday was the ACLU and all the organizations tasked with addressing these attacks on the Constitution, on the rights of the people, had gotten together. They'd come up with a plan. They told, like, all the, you know, organizations, come on, we'll tell you what to do. 5,000 people got on the call. Another 5,000 people tried to get on the call. And what did they say in a half an hour? They said, we are a community. We stand together or we fall apart. We are not leaving anyone behind. So there I was in a local peace economy created in the response to this, what's happening. Not let's take care of our own. Not let's run into a corner and those of us that have money, we're going to take care of ourselves. No, those of us have money are going to take care of you at the edges because they're coming for you first. So I just want to say resistance is happening at all levels. So that when I say we are about resistance, that we are the resistance, that is where hope is, that is where life is. Every minute it is happening and it is giving life. So as we watch this insanity that is so profound that we can't even some days take it in, that we just have to say, I need a day off because my psyche can no longer take what the war economy is doing to people. At the same time, this thing that we've been talking about for the last 15 years is the thing that Margaret Mead said. It is grown enough that it is the culture that people can rely on. There is enough, those of us who have done it, there's enough tensile strength. There's enough talking about that it's infusing. And there's enough, as I say, whistleblowers inside of these structures that are like the only response to this moment is the peace economy. So I just want to say that that's where we want to go. I think I'm going to stop there because we want to hear from Marie a little more, and then I'm going to go to the lighthouse because Marie's going to share our tools. So back to you, Marie.
So yeah, my next sharing was about community, and I think that Jodie was, I mean, we can segue in from what's happening and the resistance that's happening, and I'm seeing a lot of things popping up about how building community is the key form of resistance and care that we need to be doing right now. And I'm seeing it from, like, you know, left news spaces. I'm seeing it from environmental spaces. I'm seeing it from, I just heard about this from Jodie. It's like all over my news and socials. And it's kind of a moment where people are really talking about community. And I think probably many people within this space understand what a community really is and what it isn't. But, you know, one of the key defining ways that community has been eroded over the last century, like post-industrial revolution, but especially since the 1950s, and with the extractive neoliberal capitalism war economy, um, removing and commodifying everything that community was doing for each other, and then selling it back to us, extracting it and selling it back to us for a fee. And it's kind of, I mean, I can't say that it's hit an apex because who knows how far it can go, but community, a lot of people, when I see people saying, well, I'm going to build community, so I want to, and like, let's go out to see a movie together, right? But at its essence, building community is not about co-consumption. It's about co-creativity. It's about collaborative problem solving. It's about a tolerance for people who are different than you, because you're never going to have a community of people exactly like you. It just doesn't exist. But I think everyone here recognizes the fact that we have broken down into hyper atomized places, and there's an unwillingness to even sit in spaces with people who are different than you. And the reality in my community building, which I've done a lot of community building in my local town of Media, Pennsylvania, I'm seeing less and less tolerance, this us versus them thinking. There's less and less tolerance for even minor differences. And people walk out of community because of that. And so these are all skills we have to relearn. And we can't think our way out of it individually sitting behind our computer. It's actually done in practice, in groups, creating structures and creating the safety net, the interdependent safety net of gift and problem solving that is part of what building community is. And I just wanted to, uh, you know, that what Jodie witnessed in LA was this hyper individualistic, hyper consumeristic LA. When you think of LA, I've been there, and it's like that is, everybody's in their cars and it's atomized. But when the crisis struck, people were able to be there for each other because they knew that they had a job to do. And these minute differences, the rigid definition of in and out groups, people stopped hoarding resources and started giving resources, and developed true community around emergency. And we are in an emergency. We might not be in the middle of a fire, but we're in an emergency. And if groups like the ACLU or these ecological groups that might get their funding cut off, or any number of people talking about this moment can say, we're in an emergency, we need our community right now, I think it's probably pretty um, obvious about the way forward is through our connections to other people, even for introverts like me. You have to step outside of our innate, you know, I have an innate solitariness, and there's a special muscle I have to practice and create as a habit to step outside of that and engage. And it has not necessarily been an easy path for me. So Jodie is up to talk about the lighthouse.
Thank you. So I talked about resistance and being resistance, and now I want to talk about being a lighthouse, because this is what I want us to have the conversation about when we're done sharing. Is being the resistance is something that we do, like it is the individual act of, like, I wake up in the morning and my life is in resistance. I know Jen's life is in resistance to the patriarchy. And she's doing everything she can to move the energy flow, whatever her being is, to those that will be disruptive in the way of like building the other. So I want us to see who we are as resistance. I think it's inspiring. I think it's because when we're watching stuff come at us, there's something for me when I know that this choice, that choice, what I am doing when I leave the house and I put my keffiyeh on, there's something like that it's the thing that's coming at me becomes Teflon, because it's what I'm in resistance to. I'm in service of life. The service is the resistance. It's not this. This is not resistance. This is where we stay stuck. But resistance is love and care, and to see that as like, when, you know, what am I doing about thing? It's like, I am living a life in resistance to that. In the beauty, I am serving life. I am creating conditions conducive to life every day. So that when we see that, we recognize where we are in relationship to it. We are building a future committed to life. And it is up to us, because I think it helps bring the accountability and responsibility and self-responsibility back. Because in the space of self-responsibility, who am I? What, it's like, you haven't, you know, everybody has to give the gifts that they have been bestowed on them. They're all going to look different. That's what's amazing. That's the diversity. Because in the word diversity, it's all become the same. It's all become in a siloed box of sameness, instead of allowing true diversity. The word has been stolen, and the opposite is happening. Everybody's the same. They're just serving the war economy. So it's just that instead of a white man at the UN raises his hand to say, the one hand against the entire world, to say, no, I'm not going to stop a genocide just because it's a woman and they're Black. That's not diversity. That's unity with the patriarchy. So, you know, diversity is the expression of this human life that I am, in service and in joy and in care of all of life that you are. You know, so it goes to when these moments have happened in history, you know, when the Buddha arose, you know, when Lao Tzu came, when Confucius came, they came to teach the connection. This didn't mean the suffering didn't ended. It was like, how do I be in relationship to that? Because if we are just in the relationship to the suffering as a weapon on us, we can't survive that. But if we're in relationship to it as that is the war economy playing itself out, how do I speak to it, shine a light on it, throw sand under it? But I must be cultivating the future, the present, as a gift, as a celebration, as a cultivation of life. So that's the first thing, is that we are all that. And then the being the lighthouse. We've come to the moment where it's you all know this. We come together, we share, and I've been traveling around to like local peace economies, and like everybody's in there like, I'm doing my thing. Now is the time to shine. Now is the time to talk about it, to share with it, to move out of the space that is yours into integrating with others. And, you know, like I say, I put my keffiyeh on every day, and making something about you that when you are out in the world attracts a conversation. I'm always in my like CODEPINK t-shirt, my keffiyeh, I have a sign on my back. I meet the most amazing, interesting people. I was just in the middle of freaking nowhere in a farm community, and I wear my vest. It says "Women Stand with Gaza," and my keffiyeh on, and my t-shirt. And this woman came up. She says, "I love you. Thank you so much." And what is she? She's a Palestinian actress that lives in the middle of nowhere farmland. I was in China in the middle of freaking nowhere, and there were 5 of us. And there's a guy sitting and eating at the cafe in a truck stop, like where we're going into the, you know, Xinjiang and the unknown mountains at the site of the Gobi Desert. And what does he do? He sees my keffiyeh, and we connect. because we're connecting as people committed to a liberation. And now he's a famous French photographer, and now he's doing a report back on like what it's like to travel in China. So I say the lighthouse in the sense of like, we need to be out there more. We know, we've been talking to each other, we've been sharing, we've been learning. Like, think of all the amazing women we've been together with on this Saturday morning and learned from. And there's so much, you know, we each have a lineage that we have been nourished from. That nourishment needs to flow. So, you know, it's time to be the lighthouse. It's time to make a little noise, you know, boom, boom, you know, like the thing is coming, that we're like, we're there as the warning for what not to get caught in. So it's, you know, it's there, but don't let it catch you. You know, the lighthouse of don't hit the rocks. So the rocks are there. They're, you know, I've been describing them, but don't hit the rocks, and don't hit the rocks that are meant to demobilize you. The intention of a bully, the intention of the patriarchy is that I am only it, I am all there is. And, you know, no matter what you do, you're stuck with me. No, no. I run into that all day, every day. No, it's like, let me show you something else. Let's be something else. The way the lighthouse is light, and it's the sound, but there's something about it that's not, it's gentle at the same time, right? I mean, the foghorn puts me to sleep every night when I'm up in Mendocino. So it's done in a way that is relational. So how are we infusing ourselves? You know, I'm always looking for a whistleblower right now, because this is where whistleblowers come from. They come from this moment where the patriarchy is so bad that someone inside has values that it can no longer align with the patriarchy, and they wake up. And because it's inside, they have a value that's different, because they know how to talk about it from its deepest, darkest belly. And then it helps other people, right? That's a lighthouse. The whistleblower is a lighthouse because it's shining a light that none of us can see on what's hidden in the darkness, that help us make a choice back from our values. So I say, you know, it's like we're a whistleblower wherever we are. We're the person that can say, but that is not serving life. That is serving death. The war economy serves death. And right now it's a suicide. It's like not even, you know, it's committing suicide. So more and more we need to be cultivating these peace economies, because they are the only answer. Obviously, they're not coming to save us. Obviously, it's a crash and burn. Obviously, on that boat, you're going off a cliff, but there's still Mother Earth. And there's, you know, being in at line 3 to, you know, be in resistance to the pipeline, being in Standing Rock, being in front of the White House as we are every day, or in Congress every day. We will still do that. But what do we do in Congress? We don't ask them to do anything. We just shine a light for others to see. If you follow Medea's videos every day of how cruel and dehumanizing they are and violent they are, so that you quit thinking that, oh, if I just vote, it'll get better. I mean, over, kids, that's over. And, you know, I've been saying this forever, but like, there is no democracy in America. There hasn't been for a very long time. It serves the rich. It is so obvious. And if, you know, if democracy works, and Musk and Trump and Thiel are what, you know, the answers to democracy, then even if you still believe in it, then quit believing in it. You know what I mean? What can I get you to do that it's like not your vote, it's your life? It is right now with our lives, it's democracy. This is participatory democracy, which is really the only democracy. The other one was a lie, that we used to like destroy people and then come and try to infuse it on their cultures, and then they would resist and then we would kill them. So, you know, the democracy out of the United States is a lie. It only kills people and maims people so that the rich can get richer on your tax dollars. And I'm just going to end with that. piece about the tax dollars. 65% of your tax dollars is spent on war. Right now, the bill is going through at $1 trillion, which really means 2 trillion. Because if you take into account all the other expenses and the interest on that extra $1 trillion, it's $2 trillion. So just what we know is like what you invest in, you know, where the money flows, that's the culture we live in. That's what your life, like, you know, Gloria Steinem, look at your check stub and you'll know who you are. So here we are. Why would it be different? All the money goes to war. The money does not go to life. The money goes to war. And these weapons are horrific. And then the men that use them are dead. That you would take a huge bomb and bomb tents full of people is insanity. So we must know that we are, and I don't want to use the word insane, but I don't know the word to describe this. But it is off the charts grotesqueness of what happens when there is too much. Too much power, too much money. Too much is a disease that we're all now living in the effects of. Which takes us back to the relational. It's like being also in the relational, the related. And I saw somebody mention about grieving, and there's so much to grieve. And yes, that is the correct response to this. Not angst, not fear, but grief. That we have the tools for you, that as soon as you witness this, and every day when you witness the effects of it, grief is the correct response, not fear, not putting your head under the sand and hiding. Because now is the time to be visible. And grieving is a good thing to be visible with. Because grieving helps us be in our hearts. Grieving is about love. It is not about fear. And one of the things we want to be in resistance to is the fear. That in the face of it, I want you to know, every CODEPINKer, in the face of being yelled at, in the face of being shut down, it's like, you can't shut out my voice. You can't silence me. That's just a structure. I will not be silent. I will not quit calling you out for what you are doing. I will never quit teaching others who you are and what you are doing, and to not be related to you. But at the same time, if we are not cultivating the future, we have the warning sign of Egypt, that there was a revolution, but no work to create what would happen after it. And what came back after it was a police state, because that's all that had power. So the people are always the power, but we must create the structures to care for each other. And that it is always a community, and that we show up to open-hearted. And as someone else said earlier in the chat, and no one is our enemy. That, you know, Mahmoud, when he said his letter from the ICE detention center in Louisiana, he said, I am here for my liberation, but I am here for the liberation of the Zionists also. So that we see these people like Musk and Trump and Thiel and those that are exacting so much violence as lost. We see them as lost. We don't dehumanize from them. We see them as in the disease of that needs some care back to humanity, so that we don't ever separate ourselves from another human. We don't separate ourselves from Mother Earth. And that is our rooting that will get us through all of this. And of course, that rooting is love. So I think, you know, Marie and I've covered, did we finish? Oh, we're going to cover something at the very end after we have some conversation. We're going to come back to what is CODEPINK doing around Mother's Day. But we wanted to start out with just being in conversation with you all. Like, what are you seeing? What do you need? Is there anything we can clarify? What are you seeing that you want to offer this community here that we're together? So All right, so we'll take questions from all of you, or comments or offerings.
Let's go, let's go to Jen and see if Jen has anything that she would like to actually say after listening to all of your wonderful offerings. And then I'll check in with Judith to see if she saw something in passing. I have a couple of questions myself because I was taking some notes. So Jen, you need to unmute, and you can pass and wait till later.
Well, I'll just say now, thank you so much. That is, you've made me feel much better, Jodie. Thank you so much. It's a great distress what's going on, as you all both know, and thank you. You're my sisters, and I love you. And I think that those of us who are able to do such work as you all are doing, and we try to do in our own smaller way, it is something that is trying to satisfy needs. We're trying to satisfy big needs that we all have. It's the needs of the world. It's the needs of the earth, that for this change that has to happen. And to finally come forward as human beings who are basically maternal beings. We're a maternal species, and we're not a war-making species. We're not an exploitative species. We've gotten ourselves wrong, and we've gotten where the exploitative part of our mode, our mechanism, is taking from the gifting mechanism. It's not a mechanism, the gifting being of all of us. And this is a crisis moment that's showing us what is happening now. And thank you for all of your work and your beautiful ways of communicating it and being here with us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. And I think that's so right. But I just want to say that the problem is a little bit that we've been convinced especially in like imperialistic thought, that we can fix the big without starting with the small. And so I think the need part is the thread. Where is the need right now that you are in relationship to? And Jen, you've done this your whole life. This is your way of being. And it's like you plant seeds that are there to hold this truth. You plant them so that no matter what's happening, there's still the culture of the mothering is still vibrant. It can still exist. It can't be stamped out. As much as the patriarchy wants to stamp it out, and we are seeing those examples on steroids, so you can see the intention. But what you have done with your life is plant all these seeds to let them grow so that it can never die. So it's the thing, it's like, you can't, don't do that. You have to know that. I am here. Like, I was at the goddess temple, like I got infected, I don't know, and in 95. So, that's a long time ago. That's 30 years ago. I'm, CODEPINK, like out of the women's buildings, like all the radio, the things where you're like, that's being the lighthouse. Finding the things where the lighthouse, you were funding the lighthouses, literally, so you can't, the thing I can't have you do is go, I don't know. This is where you're modeling for me what I'm asking for all of you. We know, we fucking know. And we just need to be it boldly. We know. And I know it's heartbreaking. I know I lived in tears half of my life. But my tears, I let them nourish me. I let them nourish me. I say a prayer to the spirit that is left. And you know, what did somebody say to me the other day? It was like, oh, Marie was like, oh, I worry for the kids. You know what? If we stay related, we'll be fine. It's when we go into the story of the drama, when they can drag us into the hell, we won't be fine. That is trauma. The grief every day pulls us out of the trauma into life. When we are serving each other, we are pulled out of the trauma into life. It is how Palestine has survived. It's how these beautiful, beautiful, beautiful people, watch them. They are in resistance every day. They are in beauty. They are serving life. And they never, it's like, if life is going tomorrow, fine, I have lived this life beautifully. I mean, when I look at that photographer that just got murdered in her family, and I see that 6 hours before, the joy on her face, that she lived connected to life. Unfortunately, what the patriarch has done is taken us out of so much relation to life. So Jen, you said it, it's the need, it's the mom, it's the seeing the need. Where we mother is where we show up for the need. Right? That's what a lighthouse is doing. It's showing up for a lead kind of beautifully, right? You know, like it's a need because we don't want you to die on the rocks. So here we are doing this beautiful thing for you. So it's like recognizing the rocks. It's being, you know, being able to lead people away. And Jen, I want to, you know, out of what you say, I want to just tell you something that is so cool because you know, the United States is 30 million people, and Israel is like 9 million people. Both of them have the entire world at its knees, right? But in Asia, it's 3 billion people. 3 billion people who think totally differently. Asian culture is a connected peace economy culture. It is not a separating culture. It is a culture where people are acculturated to take care of each other. And so India and China have a border conflict, right? And do you know what they do? Do you know how they fight that border conflict? With sticks. Because if it was anything else, it would escalate. How freaking smart are they? But why? It's like they know, okay, we got to have a conflict. We're going to do it with sticks. Like, how do we go back? The other thing I encourage you all to do is be in conflict. Be in the space where you can show up and say, I have something to offer. Be beautiful about it. Force a conversation. We are so afraid to be even in a conversation that has someone thinking different than us. We ask questions to learn. We bring ourselves up to like, here's where I am and here's where you are. How do I learn from you in the space between us? But when you're out there, man, people just like, don't tell me anything. Don't talk about it. I can't see. And you're just like, but then you're already dead. This is life. Life is messy. Look at the Buddha. Like he went out into the messy struggle, you know, the what did he call it? I forgot even what the word was, but like he went out into the messiness of life. And he was like, how do we find peace in the messiness? So life isn't utopian. Life is messy. And that's what life is. There is no utopia. It is messy. And that's what life is. That's certainly what the feminine is. That's what being a mother is, you know, like it's messy. And it's where the magic happens, is in the messiness, in the allowing, in the space of being, where you literally show up for life and freaking magic happens. And that can happen if and they know this. They know if they can crush you. They know if you can turn away. They know if they can break your heart, that they own you. And so that's why I say resistance is this, because you are not letting them win, because they know that what they are doing is meant to destroy you. It is meant to silence you. It is meant to make you crawl in your hole. And it is meant to make you deny life. And no, I just say no. And you are all amazingly beautiful. You have been doing this. You've been learning together. You have so freaking much to offer. And now is the time not to be hiding your light. It is to be shining your light. It is to be sharing, and not like you know anything, just that you have something to offer. You know, it's like, can you learn from the other person? It's the space, like, I got super tested yesterday. Mother Jones, who is it's been co-opted by the war economy. So it's like this Mother Jones, like, talk about take on the matriarchy and, you know, turn it to the patriarchy. So Mother Jones, the radical revolutionary union worker leader, right? It's been fully taken over by serving the war economy. And I mean, it attacks me. It like serves the war economy. And I like, whoa, but like all of the Democratic Party, it serves the patriarchy, but in sheep's clothing. So I think it's worse than Democrats, because it's like, it's a lie, and it catches people in the net and then uses them. So they reach out, like, after the big, you know, thing, it's like, we need to be caring for those at the edges. They reach out, how do we help Code Pink? And my first response was like, go away. If I get close to you, people are going to be super confused. I'm like, nope, it's a peace economy. You've offered something and I must accept, but you've offered to help, and you see that I have a need, and I have to so respect that, because that's what I want from everyone. You've just done it. So whatever happened before is over. What's right now is that you have become a peace economy, and you have offered to help that you see in greatest need. And you have a tool to offer. And so I said, you know what would be amazing if they offered to help us raise money and stuff? I was like, no, you know what would be amazing is if I could come in and speak to everyone that writes for Mother Jones and talk about how you serve the war economy and how you could be serving the peace economy.
Wonderful. That's great.
So and what was their response? What was their response?
The response was not, I didn't expect that. Let me check. So, you know, look, I went and I had a meeting with Amy Goodwin the other day. I was like, Amy, your show is the War and Peace Report, and you're like serving the war. And she said, find me a better guest. So it's not like she's doing it on purpose. She said, if you have a better guest, bring them. So we need to get out of ourselves and ask the questions beautifully. Like, why is this happening? Because if we start asking it for those closest to us, we'll learn, and we'll learn what we need to do. So serving need gen is it. It's like, where am I in the gift economy? What is coming at me? That is where the relationship starts. And then coming with my authenticity of where I serve, so that it's not I'm not in this with them. I'm in relationship with them. They offered, I offered back. You know, it's like the flow of conversation is an offering and an offering back. We can't ground ourselves in I'm right. We can ground ourselves in what I have to offer. Because when we ground ourselves in I'm right, we lose the audience that we need to move. Because otherwise we're just going to have people who think we're right around us, which is going to make us really boring and actually shut us down to learning. So it is so about, where do I meet need, and where am I relational to it? Yes, all this is happening, but guess what? You do not have your fingers on power, and you are not going to stop that war in Gaza, but you are going to change somebody's heart where you are. You are going to open them up. And you know what? I think when people are opened up and they're in their heart, they can see. They don't actually need us to teach them. And that's, I think the other thing is like, once they come, it's like, well, let me help you know where you are. I would say these tools really have been for people who are already there, to help them know where they are and help it get stronger, help the muscle get stronger, because it's natural, but it's like, how do I let that muscle get stronger instead of the other muscle? What is activism but strengthening muscles? What is Code Pink? It is a community dedicated to building a movement for peace, of people who are committed to peace, who understand, you know, what the opposite of what the powers are trying to say, that understand it is the only answer, that understand it is our human way. And that means we're always tuning forks. We're out there helping people trust what Jen said. So somewhere in all of us, it exists. But if everything is telling you the lie, you can't, it's hard to trust yourself. So really the containers are for us to trust ourselves so someone else can trust themselves. And if there's no one here to save us, it's the reminder, it's always the people. Nothing in history has changed except for the people. And so please take yourself off of all forms of looking at power like it has anything to give you. And please put it all back to yourselves and your community. We are here for each other. We are building a future. It has a whole different way of thinking that arises out of life. And it's inside of everyone. If we can liberate others, they'll be there. I saw it in LA. I'm bearing testimony to this fact because I saw it happen.
Wonderful. Let's go. So great. Thank you.
Thanks, Jodie. Let me check in with Judith and see if Judith has a question to pose to Marie and Jodie.
Hi. Oh, whoops. Camera is falling. Diana asked if you could tell us more about the local peace economy workbook.
Oh, sure. Yes. Maybe Marie, if you could stick the link in one more time of like where to go to the workbook. So I had written a book and about like the local peace economy, thinking how I'd teach people about it. And then I realized, oh, people already know. They don't need to be told. Actually, we read and read and read, but we don't do. You know, we read and we like take it in, but we don't do. We don't build that muscle. So I was like, no, we need a workbook. We need people to actually quit shaking their head and listening to me and start actually doing something. So the workbook is, you know, has many reasons. Like first is to have you reflect on your life and reflect on these things like the relationship between the war economy and the peace economy. And then to do. It's like, because it's all about the doing. It's just, we've got to be doing it. If you're not, you know, every day building the thing, because the building is slow. You know, we live in the fast and the big, and we need to go back to the small and the slow, because if it's building too fast, it can fall apart, you know? And so when you're actually building something slowly, the infrastructure, you're bringing everyone with you, that, you know, you're doing the thing because the doing of the thing is as important as the thing you created itself. So it's both. In the doing, you are creating the culture, and then the thing itself is the container, you know? So, you know, like I realized, like, first of all, when I started this, people didn't even know what values were. I was like, oh my God, the peace economy is really like done its work. But it's everyone's still living out the war economy habits, listening and going, oh, that sounds so great. That sounds so great. And I'm like, excuse me, unless you move, you are serving the war economy. And somebody in the chat said, it's not us, it is us. Until you understand it is us, you pay if you don't pay taxes and you're not buying anything and you're not engaging in any war economy practice, good for you, but you wouldn't be on this computer. So I just want to say, we also have to not separate ourselves. It is us. We are swimming in the water. We agree to a lot of things that we hate. And we are going to do that until we die. But the question is, how much of your life can you pivot to serving peace? And I can tell you, like, once you start, it's a lot. And once you start doing it, it's like so nourishing, you just don't want to stop. You just want to do what's the next thing, because instead of the dopamine of the war economy, you're actually getting nourishment. It's actually nourishing. You can feel yourself become full. You know, you can just feel the fullness of it. So, you know, we have to admit where we are and that it gives us a lot. We're not here accidentally, and people don't get caught accidentally. It gives us a lot. We have to admit what it gives us. We have to be honest. I mean, the thing about it is, like, where's the honesty with? And if you're really honest, then in the notebook, you're like saying, okay, what do I want to do? And you're also creating it in a way that it's real. You're not setting it up like I'm going on a diet and it's January and I'm going to lose weight. I'm making a commitment. And a commitment always means to reevaluate what that commitment is. Okay, I thought this would be easier than it was, or, oh, wow, I have to spend a lot of time grieving this month because holy shit, that just wiped away like my last 40 years that I gave my life to, that I was building something that now is falling apart. And now I feel like I'm in no man's land and I feel upside down and like, what's real and how can I trust? I mean, you're going to go through some transition moments into the peace economy that are going to be brutal. And so in the workbook, it's the peace economy, the ones that Marie was talking about, it's all the pivots. Here's what the war economy thrives on, these addictions that you've been addicted to, and here's how you can pivot to a peace economy habit. When you're more in a peace economy habit than a war economy addiction, you can just feel so awesome about yourself because you are then just a tuning fork for peace. Because in the midst of all these other war economy people, you will stand out. People will be attracted to you because it's your being. We're attracted to beings, we're attracted to hearts. And and people will ask you questions all of a sudden, and then you have an opportunity to offer. The questions will come to you because you're living something different and it will be obvious. I know in the beginning, people used to practice these and I'd always try to go back and say, what did you learn? What can I share? Because everybody has a different experience. And so many people would say, oh my God, as soon as I started giving, I was like, we live in a field of generosity.
Yeah.
It's there. It's like they've talked us into these things of scarcity and, once you start practicing the thing, you are the thing and it attracts the thing. So, but you have to be patient. It takes time, no expectation. We are always going to be hypocrites because we can't not be, because we live in a structure where we also benefit from the war economy. We just need to be honest about it. It's like, oh, I want to break that habit now. I'm done with that one. Okay, I've mastered that one. I want to break that one. I can really see that one. And I want to see, what do I get out of it? You have to investigate. You have to pay what need is being fulfilled there. Is like all of a sudden, I don't need that. All of a sudden, some of them I don't even need that. What did I think I needed that for? I mean, and life becomes so simple. I mean, life is actually so simple. And yet it doesn't mean that I don't live in a monk's cell. I just know it's simple while I fully decorate my life with everything that I'm in relationship with. My house is created by gift. Everything on my walls was a gift. And people come in and they just like, wow, it feels so good. Because everything in my house was gifted to me. And a lot of it in exchange. So it creates a biodynamic, gifting creates a biodynamicism. And I know this because I gave a piece of land, 360 acres, to a community in Northern California. And I said, I'm just giving you the land. There's no money. You're going to have to figure out how to make it work. You're going to have to figure this out, but model the gift. And so, they decided to make, the community is thousands of people. So those that really wanted to be engaged paid like $30 a year for like the infrastructure of the people that were going to take care of it. That's an exchange. It's like, here we go. This is going to do this. Other people gave planting, but those that, couldn't did what they could do. It's like, you've got to accept where people are and what they have to offer, or we're going to be very narrow. So the abundance of how many people, how you could participate and what you could give, but everybody gave something. People made pathways and built walls out of clay. And, so when I would do the Code Pink retreat there, people would come like, wow, the energy here is amazing. Why? It wasn't a biodynamic farm. It had been created by the gift and you could feel it. Like there was something in It wasn't like a park. It was a place where people had come and done what they needed to do in response to what they needed. And so it's not, this isn't we're used to self-help books. It's not a self-help book. It's a hold you book. It's, I'm going to hold you as a little container through this as you get the muscles, and then you're going to go off on your own, and you're going to be doing, you know, it's going to come out of you. I mean, like the things I've seen arrive out of this, it's like, don't worry, start small, build slow, because like in 9 months, you become a rocket ship. I want you to be prepared. I have a friend who's did it, and she now is the head of all the regenerative. First of all, it was like, it brought her to regenerative farming as a farmer. And she was like, oh, this is never going to happen. It's too hard. People can't do this. They're never going to understand it. There are now 100,000 regenerative farms in the United States, and she's the head of the organization. And not only that, she seeded the thing in each state where the farmers get together and demand what they need out of the state because they show up and they can describe. I mean, like the crazy stuff she's done that I've benefited from at my farm. I got to redo my irrigation system to regenerative because she created the structure inside, because then the systems that are funding realize that's the way to go. And she's surrounded by MAGA farmers, and they all switched. So hearts open, you know, like do the thing, be generous. You know, what does she do? She invites everybody over to dance and get drunk and, you know, like party and play pinball machines. So the play that Marie reminded us of is essential. If nothing else, start with play. So yeah, I hope that helps you with the book. I mean, it's there, it's for you for free. You can buy it. I made some for people who like a hard copy, but you can download it. You can work on it online. It's there for you. It will take you through. It will take you to the cycle of reconnection, the grieving, the caring that you need to do for yourself and community as we transition to the other. So it's just a tool. Use it as you like, enter where you want. And then the website is there because it's got the ecosystem, and the book reflects back to the website, and Marie keeps it up to date. So there's resource tools of things to read, like what book other people are writing books, like everybody read The Service Berry, because it is the local peace economy book on steroids. You know, so there's lots of people writing books. If you want to be nourished by it, read The Service Berry. This is a workbook. And there's the cycle of reconnection, where we have places to go, books, webinars, support groups, where you can grieve and care, and then joy and celebration, where you do the cycle of reconnection. I think I do it 9 times a day, because it's like I go into grief, cares, you know, joy, celebration, because it is the cycle of life. Every indigenous culture had it in it was their culture. You know, it was ritualized into their culture, and we've unritualized. So I ritualize my days, and, you know, so that I'm there. So, because we forget, we're humans, we forget. So rituals are important, and build some rituals yourself. And then in the ecosystem, it's like, I don't know what this means. What's a peace economy? There's 3,000 peace economies around the country that you could kind of find one near you. I always say, like a language, it's best to immerse yourself. Don't think you're going to do it. Go immerse yourself first, because it makes it easier, because it's like learning a language. You've been indoctrinated into a war economy language. Be in a peace economy. Let yourself be comfortable with the messiness, with what a community is. It's messy. Let yourself find resilience again. You know, like just go back to like not having it your way. And we all think we don't, but we do, because we're privileged, and we live in a privileged world. So, and then there's also the inspiration, the stories about the peace economy practices in the ecosystem. So you can hear the story of the individual, the relationship of doing this. So you can be related to it. So that's all there is, just tools to jump into, you can surface it, you can deep dive it. It's there however you like to be related to the information.
Wonderful. Thanks you. That was very full. I actually downloaded a copy for myself, just as you were describing it. So I'm very excited to take a look at it. and it looks very, very rich. So I do want to encourage everyone um, to download that workbook. In terms of the language of the maternal gift economy, this is really the place where that is, creating that opportunity is the unilateral giving. It means that, it will constantly keep on giving. The minute that you actually download that book, you integrate that, you quote unquote change your paradigm, as Jen always frames it, put on your new glasses, and you, Jodie, actually talk about learning a new language, because that's what it's about. You cannot be in a new paradigm without learning new language. And that means you have to relate to the meaning of the words. You have to live those words. You have to be those words, as you say, as you constantly say, both you and Marie. And I do want to point out that also Marie put a link in for the local peace economy toolkit. Now, I actually put that up on my screen so I could take a look at it. And what that provides for people, for those of you who haven't seen it yet, I want to encourage you to go there, because this is like your personal gateway into a community of gifting. So it lists many, many different transitional opportunities for gifting in this world. And this is what, I think also from the framework of the maternal gift economy, we are in this time of transition. And we are, unfortunately or fortunately, wedded to it. The only people who are not in the maternal gift economy are Indigenous people who actually live a sustenance economy in their own communities, and they're not invested in capitalism, in a market economy, in the things that we do. So the values that both Marie and Jodie describe are the values of what it means to be human, which is what Genevieve talks about all the time. The fact that we learn these things from our mother, it's essential. And this is the other thing that people try to point out, that we're essentialists, and that's not it. In the paradigm of the maternal gift economy, mothering is both a verb and a noun. And it is the act of mothering. When Jodie said, you said something, let me see if I can find it. It was something about mothering, you were mothering life, and that everything is in that category, and anyone can mother life, regardless of gender. And what that means is that you're supporting everything that actually moves through the process of life. There is death and there is creation. So we have to go through this process to create a new peace economy, a new civilization. And I would venture to say that it's really a remembrance, what Jen talks about, because she uses the framework of like our primary code. We come in as humans. These are the things that if we weren't taken away from the maternal gift economy values and indoctrinated into capitalist market economy, war economy values, that we would be naturally doing this. So it's just allowing yourself to be who you are in the maternal gift economy. Jen, please share.
Yeah, I say that the gift economy is the operating system of the human being, that all of our different capacities are actually based on that, like language, like throwing a ball from one person and the other person catches it, like cooking dinner and people eat it, like giving the fire to the pot and that makes the vegetables into something that's edible. And it really permeates our whole lives, but we have lost that schema. We've lost that logic somehow because it's been overlaid by the logic of exchange, by giving in order to get back, which is an equivalence between the things. And it's a quid pro quo. I only give in order to get back. It's a whole other logic, and it contradicts the logic of unilateral giving. It's the logic of unilateral giving is contradicted by the logic of necessary bilateral giving. So it puts us in a whole other, much more abstract mode. And we don't live our lives anymore as givers and receivers. We're not in alignment with this operating system that's underneath everything. We're in contradiction with it. And we are not a terrible species. We are not an evil species. We're a beautiful species, a wonderful one that's totally could be totally aligned with the rest of the universe and nature and each other all the time. But we are contradicting it by this mechanism into which we've been poured, basically, and that has taken over everything as parasitic on the gift economy that's underneath. So that's my.
Yes.
So Denise, I want to address your comment. So I was saying that there is anti-Semitism in the country, but it's not getting its attention. And it compared to the volumes of what they're calling anti-Semitism, it's small compared to this volume that is grounding out the real anti-Semitism that needs to be addressed. And it's, you know, like with all the words in the United States that have rendered rendered meaningless. It's a crime that they're using anti-Semitism, because anti-Semitism itself needs to be addressed. It needs to be focused on. And this has like erased that. It's confused people. It's a disservice to what the anti-Semitism we need to be paying attention to. So it's not that it's not happening, it's that it's been literally kind of shoved under the rug in the distortion of what we're seeing. So sorry if that came out wrong. Yes, it's happening, and it's not getting the attention it needs to be getting while this, this other is happening, and distorting and making people confused. It doesn't serve. And so, yeah, another word rendered a weapon instead of a tool.
Exactly. All right. As moderator, it's my job to be the timekeeper, unfortunately. And I want to make sure that you have the time, Marie and Jodie, to say what is, you wanted to actually say what Code Pink is doing now, I think.
Yes.
And then I need a little bit of time. Also, I want to give Jen some time and me some time to just wrap it up. Okay.
Yeah, well, really just quickly, Mother's Day was in the United States, was arose out of Julia Ward Howe. And actually I can show you behind me that, when I say I'm always wearing my, my message, I even have it, if you come to my dining room, I even have it in my dining room, which is where I'm sitting. So if you look behind me, it says, "I will not raise my children to kill another mother's child." And that comes from Julia Ward Howe, who wrote the Mother's Day Proclamation after the Civil War, calling the women to come together to create the path to peace. And we have done this outside the White House for the 20 years of Code Pink. And, the clear pivot, as I said, they are not coming to save us. They are not the power. We are the power. So we're really taking our Mother's Day activism to our communities this year, and all our local communities are engaging in how to, on Mother's Day, we mother. How is it that we give to the community that is most affected by the war economy? In the Bay Area, they're helping Palestinian mothers that are refugees, and they're collecting and collecting and collecting, and they're going to go deliver everything they've collected after they walk across the Golden Gate Bridge for peace. In Los Angeles, they have a peace economy project as part of their activism, as many code pinkers do. And so they're expanding theirs to a bigger community and engaging others to come in and serve the community that they're serving over in Altadena. So because it is Mother's Day, and because we're here about mothering, and that this whole day was created to end war, which is, the war economy, I just wanted to seed with all of you. And I think Marie's put in the chat, where you could go, or you can reach out to Marie and myself. Marie can put her Peace Economy email in there for you, is to think about how you could prepare from now into doing something as the lighthouse, as resistance, where you are in engaging in the peace economy, in being the mother on Mother's Day, in the celebration of those that are really at the most horrific effects of the war economy. So it's just an invitation to you, and we're here to support you. And thank you so much for having us. Thank you, Jen, for, planting seeds. When, here we are, Jen and me, it's like Jen planted the seeds, and I'm the tree that sprouted from that. And now I just say I'm Jodie Appleseed. I'm just planting seeds. So, that we don't all have the answers, but we do have the seed of truth. And that when we plant it, it's allowed to grow. And that the rooting is really what will save us. It's like when we root in values and truth, when we root in this truth, then we can play with it, then we can dance with it, then we can be in the delight of it and the sharing of it. And the war economy can't grab us like the trees that were rooted. And nothing is going to be more important with coming AI, as we can see. We're going to be living and swimming in the toxic waste dump of propaganda and lies, just as a habit. It's not going to be the exception, it's going to be the rule. So this rooting matters. Planting seeds and being a lighthouse matters. You matter. You are life, and you serve life. And I celebrate you. And Marie, thanks for joining me here with this beautiful community. Thank you.
Marie, do you have some last words that you'd like to offer?
I was thinking about that. Can I tell a short story? Very
Sure.
short.
Sure.
About 15 years ago, I went to Emory University for a week-long gathering that was centered on His Holiness the Dalai Lama's. He comes to Emory University, and then they send professors to Dharamsala, and they have an exchange. And there was a conference there, and my mother got her MDiv at Emory, and so she had tickets. And you can't get tickets unless you're part of Emory, but she gave me her tickets. And I had there's a lot that I remember from that week, but during the week, there was a whole concentration on sort of like the scientific underpinnings of what Buddhist teachings, what they're coming to realize that were, these Buddhist teachings all along. And what came out of it was that we've grown up and been indoctrinated since, the last century, since the 19th century, to believe that we are, as beings, fundamentally at violent and at odds with each other and warlike. But that really, for the last 50 or 60 years, the vast majority of the science is saying that that's a lie. It's not true. And that our brains are wired to cooperate and connect and be in relationship, and that's essentially what is being human, not the violence. There have been a number of books that have popularized that, but spaces like this explore, I think, that really deep yearning that we all have, that we want to believe that human lives are not the virus on the world that we have been taught that we are, that we have a place. And we are meant to enact beauty and kindness and help to other humans and the more than human world. And that is our essential nature, not the violence. So that's what I wanted to end it on saying.
Thank you so much, Marie. Jen, is there some last words you'd like to leave our community with today?
Yeah, well, I find that a lot of our values that we talk about have a gift aspect or an exchange aspect. And so I look at now this moment in which there's so many lies, that the truth is a gift because it satisfies the need of the listener to know what to do, what is happening really. Whereas a lie is only for the good of the speaker, not for the good of the listener. It's to make the speaker more powerful and to be able to get what they want rather than what the listener wants. So I'm just saying we can look at a lot of the things in our lives as having to do with gifting, satisfying the other person's need, or just satisfying our own need to dominate or so on. So one is gift, the other is exchange, as in commodity exchange.
Thank you, Jen. Wow, this has been such a dynamic conversation. And I think that you came, Marie and Jodie, to actually situate the peace economy in this moment. And you did such a fabulous job. You didn't shy away from the difficult situation that we're in, not only in our local cities and our state, but also the conflicts that we have with our cities and state, with our own federal government right now, and our government with the world and the wars there. I mean, it is such a big thing. And what you have shared with us are tools that we'll be able to actually anchor right in to a place where we can find not only tools to help us create this new world, but also find peace in ourselves, find peace and purpose and community with one another. So thank you so much for that. Thank you so much. All right.
Thank you for coming.
Yes, I want to invite you all to come back next week, next Saturday on April the 26th. We have a special book presentation there, and maternal and materialism in the Colombian politics, This is a book that right now it's only in Spanish, but it was her thesis, and she is really talking about and talking from that place. In 2 weeks, on Saturday, May 3rd, please do come back for Salon number 80. I feel really good that I can say that out loud. 80, Jen. We will have arrived at 80. It's so amazing. What a gift to the world. This recording will be up on our website, the maternalgifteconomymovement.org. If you would like to be notified of our events in the future, please sign up at our website or send us your comments and your feedback at maternalgifteconomy@gmail.com. Thank you, everyone, especially Jodie and Marie for coming to be with us today, and Jen, who is now landed in Italy, which we're grateful that she is safe. And for those of you who are celebrating today, Easter, this holiday for the Christian world is about a return to peace as well. And while there's lots of baggage around it, it doesn't, it brings me to this place of how wonderful it is that we should have this particular talk about the peace economy on this weekend. That this is a weekend where people are gathering, they're playing and celebrating. There's a lot of commercialism, but the real heart of it is this resurrection to life itself. And while I am a recovering Catholic, I am no longer a Catholic, that I recognize that is this cycle of return, and that's where we need to come back to in ourselves. So I just want to say thank you, everyone, for coming. And I want to leave you with this little tiny story. When I was 10, my very first poem got published. It was called If I Had Three Wishes. And it was put in the newspaper. I got to be in a little anthology for our school district. And it starts out by saying, if I had three wishes, I would wish for everyone to be happy. If I had three wishes, I'd wish for everyone to be healthy. If I had three wishes, I'd wish that all of our sister countries work hand in hand to bring the world to peace. Just think what would happen if I had three wishes. Everyone, peace.
Peace.
Take good care, everyone. Bye for now.
Bye.